Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Train Sim World 2 in our CSX operations here on the channel. In today's scenario, we are going to take a consist of 4 SD40-2s, couple them up to a manifest train here in Cumberland Yard, and we're going to have to travel uphill through some tough snowy conditions to bring this train all the way to Rockwood Junction where we'll be dropping it off. Ladies and gentlemen, I am glad to say that Bill is back on another journey with us here with our CSX operations. Let's go ahead, close the door, and time to sit down. We already know the drill. Let's go ahead. We got to turn our headlights on high, fuel generator on, turn on our ditch lights, turn on the gauge lights, set our valve to lead or dead, and then set the cut-in valve to freight. Then let's go ahead, release our automatic brake, and take a look at the map. So we are here, and you can see where this blue dot is. That is where we need to go pick up our cars. So we're gonna have to do some switcheroo here on the tracks. But in order to get there, we gotta put the reverser handle in. That would be helpful. So let's put this thing in reverse. Release the independent brake. Sound the horn twice. And we are set to pull out. Let's go ahead, put this in notch 1, and we are rolling out of the yard, or at least where we're parked. So this looks like it's going to be a heavy manifest for us today, as they've given us 4 of these SD40-2s. So we got quite a bit to haul, it looks like. So we've got to the switch where we need to be. We are going to take this switch right here, and we're going to take it. This one is set as well. And we're going to have to take it all the way around back here so we can get up here and then back down into our train here. This is the last switch we need to get past before we can hop on the right tracks. We're just going to make sure enough of, or I guess that all 4 of these engines are going to be passed, which they should be good now. So let's go ahead, throw on some brake. Did not mean to throw that into dynamic brake setup, but we'll go ahead and slow this down to a stop. And now all the tracks are properly set up for us to go ahead and approach and couple up to our manifest train.
Cumberland Tower, this is Q359, requesting departure from Cumberland. Over.
Q359, subject to signal indications, proceed as far as Viaduct Junction. Over.
So before we go, they don't tell you this, we got to turn the radio and HOTD on, because what that will allow us to do is we can go here and we can turn banking comm on, which we need to be able to communicate with the 4 engines behind us. So let's go ahead then. We are going to release the independent brake here as we're going to start slowly falling backwards. Let's throw this into notch 3, build up those amps, lay down some sand, and this train is slowly going to start moving, and we have takeoff. Let's bump it up to notch 4. We can let go of the sand, and we are headed out of the yard. So that's very important that you got to remember to set up banking comm when you're running with heavier trains and using multiple engines. In less than a half a mile now, we are coming up on Viaduct Junction, where we are going to have to stop. We're going to have to call into dispatch and get permission. We are going to officially leave the yard and get our track warrant to head out to Rockwood, which is where we are ultimately bringing this train to.
this is Q359 requesting a track warrant from Cumberland to Rockwood Junction. Over.
Q359, subject to signal indications. Proceed from Cumberland to Rockwood Junction. Other trains are reporting a mix of conditions out there, so have a safe trip. Over.
So thanks for that from dispatch. As we're going to go ahead, I do not want the bell. We're going to get an uphill start here going. Not too steep, thankfully. Let's bump this up to notch 4. Throw the sand down and slowly start picking up some traction. But we are going to have to stop just ahead, as we do have this red signal in about 70 yards, which I've done this scenario before. I can't tell you how many times I have just completely ignored this red signal and accidentally passed it. So we're not going to add very much to the throttle here. We're just going to get enough, as we are already going downhill, but most of our train is still behind us, or actually all of our train is. So we are just going to go ahead and scoot forward to this red signal, and then we will be dispatching or calling dispatch here, as we really didn't even need to go up that far, but here we are. So how you doing, Bill? How's the family been? How's the wife and kids? Bill doesn't really seem like he wants to talk to us right now. He's kind of giving us that stink eye. So that was definitely a long startup. I didn't show you guys, but if we have another uphill start, I will have to show you how that happens, because a lot of people really struggle with these starts where you're carrying long, very long trains behind you, and you have to sit there for maybe a minute or so, crawling at not even 0.1 miles an hour, until your train finally starts creeping up to 0.1. You sit there holding down sand till you get to 0.2, and it'll take a good 2-3 minutes to even start going, sometimes up to 1 mile an hour. So it's just something you have to sit, you have to wait through, and just make sure you aren't maxing out your amps. So I'm sure we'll have another situation like that in this scenario at some point. We definitely will, I know, when we take over the AC 4400s in Powering America Part 2. So we will see it in action some point later in the series again. So as we're crossing under this bridge here, this is where the main ascent of this mountain on the sand patch grade happens, as most of our train is still going downhill. Part of it is going uphill on this, goes between 0.7 0.8% grade up the hill. So the trick is here making sure we have enough power to get up it without stopping, but also the speed limit is still only 15 miles an hour, which it's going to stay that way for another 1.3 miles, you can see. Or actually it bumps up to 20 now, so we can start giving it a little more throttle as we start this uphill ascent. So even there, you could see just how long this train actually is. The back of our train hasn't even started the main part of the ascent up this mountain. So we are working with an incredibly long train here today. But again, just wait until we get to the next episode where we're loading a fully loaded coal train up this mountain pass with some twin AC 4400s. That's going to be some real power. And that's going to be a real test for our abilities. So I don't sit down and record all of these all at once every time. Like, I'm on day 2 of recording this, and I had to go back and check the footage, and I remembered right. For some reason, when we were recording this yesterday, or when I was recording this yesterday, all of the snow was melted. I'm like, wait, I don't remember there being snow. And sure enough, here we are. Everything is covered in snow, which I think is what's supposed to be, considering it's called ice and snow. So yeah, we now have snow we have to deal with, unlike before. So there's just a random twist of events thrown into us here in this situation. And at this point, I'm thinking maybe this has to be a glitch or something, or just some bug with the game, because at least from the trees and out here, it looks like we're supposed to have snow, but it looks like the snow really is having a hard time rendering here on the tracks, and it looks like everything in front of us, there's no snow, but as we pass it, there is snow. So I'm just gonna guess that's a bug here in the game. So we are just a little over a mile and a half out here. We have a speed change coming up to 25 miles an hour. So we're gonna go ahead, start slowing down now, and throw the throttle. Let's actually, you know what? We're still going uphill, but I would like to take some speed off. Let's go ahead, throw it down into notch 2. And hopefully we can just sort of use our momentum going up this hill to bring us down to the speed we need. So we're coming up on the 25 mile an hour marker here, and we've kind of found the sweet spot at notch 5, headed up this 1.4% grade, and we are still 23 miles out from Rockwood Junction where we have to stop. And again, it looks like there's no snow, but I think it's a glitch. We have been dealing with a little bit of traction problems sometimes here and there. When we try to notch up, we'll lose all our amps, and then we have to slowly build them back up again. So again, I think it's just a bug in the game. So we're still gonna have to treat this like we are driving on a bunch of ice and snow. One thing I've noticed too in this situation, this is the same mountain pass that we had to climb up in. I believe it was the fully fueled scenario, where there we only had 2 engines and had to pull up a train up the entire pass. Here on the mountain, we were doing full throttle, notch 8 up this hill, and having to stop at all these signals. And we were maybe only pulling 19, 20 miles an hour where we are right now up this grade at full throttle. So even though we have a heavier train in this scenario, you can definitely tell the extra help you have when we have those 2 extra engines behind us, 4 in total up front here, as we're sitting at a nice comfortable going between 19 and 20 here at only notch 5, and we really don't need much more than that right now. We are getting to the top of the hill here, and we are ready to start applying our dynamic braking, as we have a very heavy train behind us, and we definitely want to get ahead of it more than we did last time we were coming down this direction. So as soon as we hit this, which we already hit, as soon as we hit the peak of the summit here, we're already setting up our dynamic braking. And honestly, we're just going to put it all the way into dynamic braking 8. And hopefully this doesn't slow us down too much. Actually, we might want to take it off a little here, as we still have to have most of the train come up the hill. But again, we just want to be so ahead of this that we have this train completely under control as we go down. And I'm feeling really safe right here. So you can see we're going right between 14 miles an hour. And if we slowly start picking up a little more speed, we can go ahead and keep adding on. We have 4 more notches to work with here in dynamic braking, which I found it has worked best when you keep your train right at that around 15 mile an hour mark, not going much faster. So that's exactly where we're going to try to keep it, because the one time we did come down this hill and we were pushing the speed limit, it took actually all of our dynamic braking. Oh, hitting the mouse again. Took all of our dynamic braking and all of our automatic braking and lapping out as well to finally get the train under control. We almost had a runaway. So I like to try to keep it 15 or below as we're starting to creep up again, just because it's easier, I feel like, to keep the train in control with dynamic braking. So again, all the matter it is just keeping an eye on it. And part of it is, having driven this route so much, I already know where the summit is. So I already knew when to start making preparations before we got there. And that's exactly what we were able to do. So you got to know your route you're driving. Get ahead of braking when you need to, so you can start setting up and start taking away momentum before you get over the top. And just keeping an eye on your speed and making those fine tuning adjustments, which is what we're doing. And we're headed down, no problem, just sitting here at 15 miles an hour, and we're not even all the way in notch 8 for dynamic braking yet. So I'm really happy with how we are handling this descent so far, is what I was trying to say. And as you guys can see, this is a good example of why you need to be so far ahead on your braking, as we still have to stay on it. The very end of our train is just finally starting to get to the deep descent of this decline, where it starts hitting 1%. So we've already been traveling along this for a pretty long time, and we're just now starting to get the entire weight of the train coming behind us down the hill. And as you can see, the speed is starting to slowly creep on us again. So again, we just got to keep a close eye on that and just make some fine-tuning adjustments with our dynamic braking, as we still have another notch to work with here, as 7 is actually bringing us down a little more than I would have liked. So somewhere between 7 and 6 is that sweet spot. Yeah, let's go back to 6. I don't want to slow down too much here. So just a matter of finding out where that sweet spot is for the braking that keeps you at where you want to be. So the speed limit here is 35, and it's not going to be changing soon. We do have the train fairly well under control, so I think it is going to be okay. If we go ahead, let's go back to 5. Slowly start pulling a little of the dynamic braking off here. We can get a little speed, but I don't want to pull too much off to where we can't get back to where we were, just in case something does happen. But with the speed limit being set at 35 and staying there for quite a bit, and we're only 10 miles out, I think we are in an okay spot to start pulling back some of that braking. We have made it down the main descent of the mountain, as we are just about 7.5 miles out from Rockwood Junction now, and we're actually starting a bit of a climb again. Although it's not really going to be that steep. It's pretty much even here, as I keep hitting my mouse. Pretty much going to be level even going here a little downhill the rest of the way, as we're going to get back into dynamic setup here, and we're pretty much just going to be able to use our downhill momentum that we still have, and we'll be able to coast for quite a bit. But maybe we'll just give a little dynamic braking here or there just to try to keep us comfortably close to, but still under that speed limit of 35 miles an hour. So I will see you guys here real shortly as we're 7 miles out from our final destination at Rockwood Junction. Alright, so Bill, it has been a pleasure working with you as always. Let's head down, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to wrap up this scenario with our CSX operations. Once again, another gold medal for us here on the CSX railways. In next episode, we will be picking up right where we left this train off, and we will be filling up a coal job at Rockwood Junction. And finally, we're gonna get a chance to sit behind the real powerhouse, the AC 4400s. So if you guys enjoyed this video and are excited for more of our CSX operations, be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.